All right, so last chapter we learned how to factor. Today we're going to learn how to use factoring to solve our quadratic equation. In order to do that, we have to remember something called the zero product property. It goes back to our favorite flashcards when we were learning how to do our multiplication tables. Anytime there was a zero on the flashcard, we automatically knew the answer was zero, right? Because anything times zero is zero. So that's pretty much what the zero product property says. It says if A times B equals 0, then either the A is a 0 or the B is a 0, or maybe both are zeros. How does that work for us in algebra? Well, here's a problem. Here's x plus 2 times x minus 9. So that's the A, that's the B, and they equal 0. So that says that we can do one of these two numbers is the 0. Either x plus 2 is the 0 or x minus 9 is the 0. I just have to solve both. I have to subtract the 2. So x equals negative 2. Or I have to add the 9. So x equals 9 is the other solution. Two solutions when we're solving for x, same as when we solve by undoing. Okay? Or beside it here, even this one looks like a greatest common factor of 2x was taken out, but the same thing is true. Here's a first thing, a, times the second thing, b, and the answer is 0. So either 2x equals 0 or x minus 5 equals 0. And then we just have to solve both. First, we divide by 2. So x equals 0. Here we add 5. So x equals 5. For the last one, I've run out of space, so let me put it up here. So again, two things. 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 4 equals 0. So either 2x plus 3 equals 0 or 3x minus 4 equals 0, or maybe both. So minus 3, 2x equals negative 3. Divide by 2. X equals negative 1.5. Or add 4. So 3x equals 4. Divide by 3. So x equals 4/3. Two answers, one for each x. Okay, so now it'll say algebraically solve the equation. You'll try factoring when you can see there's more than one x in your problem. We did undoing when we had one x in our problem. Remember, if you have an x value given to you, you can always solve those with the trace button on your calculator, or that's F1 on a Casio. So you type that into your y1, x squared minus 5x, and then trace negative 1. It increases your speed, it increases your accuracy to do it that way, and you find out that the output is 6. Okay, but when we're finding x, we're expected to do it by hand, not with the calculator. So if f of x equals 0, then we have 0 equals x squared minus 5x. Well, hey, that equals 0, like the zero product property. But the other side of the equal sign isn't a factoring problem. A multiplication problem until I factor it. So how do I factor? Remember, the first question is always, is there a greatest common factor? And sure enough, x squared and 5x have an x in common. So if I factor out the x, I'll have x minus 5. So hey, that's a multiplication problem now, and I can set each factor equal to 0, and I can solve it. So I can say, hey, well, x equals 0, there's a solution. Or x minus 5 equals 0, and add 5. So x equals 5 is the other solution. Sorry, my writing is not going clearly. There. Come on. So two answers, x equals 0, x equals 5. There's no space for the other one, so we won't do that. Okay, so one more example. Again, if x equals 5, we can just take care of those on our calculator with trace. Or F1. Okay. But when you have a y value, we need to plug it in. Okay. Don't try undoing if you have both an x squared and an x. There's no way you're going to get those two x's by themselves. So the first thing we need to do when we plug in an 8 is make the math problem equal 0. So minus 8. If we don't make the math problem equal 0, then the zero product property won't work for us. So now we have negative 20. All right, so to use the zero product property, we need to have a multiplication problem, which means we need to factor. So there's 3 numbers right there, so we need to do AC method. What multiplies to negative 60 and adds up to positive 11. Okay. So after just searching around for that, we figured it's a positive 15x and a negative 4x. So we combine the like terms and split the problem into 2 halves. And we take out our GCFs. Over here, negative 4, so x minus 5. And so suddenly we have it factored. We have 0 equals 3x minus 4 times x plus 5. Sorry, I realized in the last step I forgot to write plus 5 there. Negative 20 divided by negative 4 is positive 5. So, now we can use the zero product property. We have 0 equals to 3x minus 4. And 0 equals to x plus 5. Okay, so first add 4. 4 equals 3x. Divide by 3. X equals 1.3 repeating, so 1.333. Or, on the other one, subtract 5. That's a lot simpler. X equals negative 5. And there's our 2 answers. We factored using our old factoring skills so that it was a multiplication problem equal to 0, so that we were able to use the zero product property.